Okay, it is 6 o'clock, so we are going to call the meeting to order. I apologize to those watching virtually. We're having some technical difficulties with our camera, but we are here. So Kathy, well, see, I'm going to go out of order too. So Pat, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we're on to roll call, please, Kathy.
Mayor Chapman.
Here.
Councilmember Bean.
Here.
Councilmember Furby.
Here.
Councilmember Scanlon.
Here.
Councilmember Skug.
Here.
All righty, we are all here. That brings us to our first public comment period. You have 5 minutes per person. And is there anybody virtually first?
Well, how do you decide who's first?
Well, we're starting the virtual folks, if there are anybody in Zoom world, if they want to say anything, and then we'll go into the room.
This isn't the 5 minutes? Yes.
Yep, you will, yep.
Okay, I'll speak first.
Yeah, we go to the virtual folks that are in the virtual room, and then we come into the room, but,
Okay.
yep. So yes, you, please go up to,
Anderson, I'm addressing a lot to you.
please go up to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please, and then you have 5 minutes.
Okay, I stopped over a month ago, and it was about the snowfall amounts we're getting.
Can we get your
this year.
name and address?
I'm sorry.
Yep,
I'm just thinking about what.
Yeah, no.
Joan Mercadal.
Okay,
I live at 826 East Empire Street.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, I stopped quite some time ago, and I said there was kind of an issue for me with the plowing. What happens this year, especially with the snow, you know, since we've had several 2-foot dumps at a time and everything, my door to my house is probably 15 feet back off the road. When the 2 plows go by, they completely plaster my steps up. I can't open my front door. I have to go around to the back. Well, the other problem with all the thawing, if I don't get out early and it's frozen overnight, they're throwing up ice chunks. I've picked up chunks of ice that were this big around. I'm 73 years old. My path, every time we plow, even this last, 5-6 inches we got the other night, it gets plowed all the way up to my door. My snow blower won't cut through it. My snow blower won't cut through it. I have to hand shovel it. I have a deformed back. It is at least 5 feet deep that I have to shovel so the mailman can bring up mail to my door. And it's about 10 feet long off my driveway that I have to shovel. It's crippling for me because I was born with a very deformed back, and I've had all kinds of problems with my spine my whole life. I'm 73, my snow blower won't cut it, you know, so I go out and hand shovel it every time, and I'm just absolutely shocked that every time now, only when it's 6 inches, when the plows go by, they're always on my side of the street first, and you get multiple plows going by, everything gets thrown up on my side. I look at my neighbors across the street from me on the 800 block of Empire. By the time they come around and do their side of the street, especially when it's been the double plows that have gone out a lot, they get maybe this much snow thrown up 3 feet wide. I get it 15 feet back in my driveway. It's incredible for me. I have to back up, go again with the blower, back up, go again. But it's the hand shoveling that is killing me this year. What I am wondering, and I would have addressed this sooner, but my life is pretty busy, is why the plows can't alternate on these really high level years. Why can't they do the other side of the street now and then so my neighbors get what I get half of the time? I mean, it's very frustrating to see everybody pulling in and out of their driveways across from me, and they only have a foot of snow plowed up, where it's dumping all the way up to my door. And every single time, yesterday, I was out and shoveled. My paths are way over my head that I have to shovel out to my driveway. It's excruciating for somebody who is 73 and very, very arthritic and has a deformed spine. Why can't the plows alternate their routes and do the other side of the street sometimes first? That would be for you, Mr. Anderson. I know you came once. You ought to see now all the trees it's killed that I planted 15 feet off the road, everything.
What was your house number again, Joan?
826. I'm next to the end. There's a small brick house that was built probably, I don't know, 50s, 60s. I have no idea. I have an old house.
Okay. Well, we can see what we can do for you and kind of take a look, and we'll send somebody out to check it and report
Well,
back.
Mr. Anderson, you said you were going to check my situation. Did you ever come and look? But you never spoke to me.
We can't address anything directly during public comment, but after the meeting, you know, we can have a conversation.
I can talk with him directly?
You can, yeah, and you can talk with me directly if you'd like as well, or anyone else, any
Okay.
of us, for sure.
Okay.
And then we can address it and take.
Yeah, I just thought, well, I was going to say all this on the phone.
Yeah,
Actually, I wanted to go visit him, but he ended up calling me first
okay. Well,
because the girl downstairs talked to, so I didn't get a chance to say this to him because he was so abrupt on the phone. He said, I'll come look, and then he hung up.
we can talk about it later and take a look at it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there anybody else that would like to? Okay, Claudia?
Claudia Demarest, 821 Marie Street in Ishpeming. On Friday, I went up to the library to pick up a book. Snow removal at the library sucks. Parents having to climb over the snowbank with multiple children. I had parked on the other side of the street, so I walked up to the corner of Barnum and Main, and it was inches of ice and snow. I took pictures and went down to City Hall and showed April. She said she'd let them know. On Monday, I went by the library on my way to City Hall to pay my water bill, and it was not taken care of. So I asked April why they didn't do anything with it, and she said whoever looked at it said it would melt. Yeah, eventually it will. Yesterday, I went by and took more pictures. The corner was still very bad. I also went by the ice rink yesterday, and guess what was being done? They were spraying the ice rink. Don't you think you would take care of the library first, since more people use it? Children, families, senior citizens? This is unacceptable. I don't know who makes these decisions on what gets taken care of first, but whoever it is not making very good decisions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anybody else in the room that would like to speak for public comment? Okay, hearing none, we are closing public comment, and we are going on to number 5, approval of the agenda. And I'm making one addition to the consent agenda. Do I have to do that now or when we approve the consent?
If you add it now, it can be part of the
Okay.
overall approval of the agenda.
Okay, I would like to add to the consent agenda to appoint Sarah Tremblay to the DDA starting April 1st. Good.
Term expires for that? I only ask because that's typically.
Well, I was gonna ask as
Mhm.
well, if we're gonna have a discussion, is there a vacancy?
Yeah, there are. Okay. Okay, well, we can, Kathy, if you want to have that for us when we get there, that'd be great. Okay,
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second that.
okay, motion and support. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is adopted. Okay, moving on to agenda comment. You will have 3 minutes per person to speak to anything on the agenda. If you would like, you could reserve time when it comes up if you'd like. So is there anybody in Zoom first? Say again? Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Scott's here to talk about it. So, Jason, can you move Mr. Scott Anderson into the panelist view? Promote him over.
And then is he going to be speaking then? Okay, all right. Is there anybody in the room that would like to speak to something on the agenda? You have 3 minutes. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Minutes of previous meeting, February 8th, February 22nd, and February 27th, and closed sessions, February 8th and February 27th. Approval of disbursements, declare 342 library books as surplus, reappoint Justin Koski to a 5-year term on the Compensation Commission with a term expiring 2 of 2028, and appoint Sarah Tremblay to the DDA as of April 1st with a term expiring, sorry.
Well, there's 2 terms, there's 2 seats vacant. One of those vacancies, the term expires July of 24, and the other one expires July of 23.
Okay, well,
Term
the
that expires in
24, yep, I agree.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is adopted. Moving on to the monthly financial statement report. Joe.
Okay, you should have received a copy of your revenue and expenditure report. We're just a couple months into this year's budget. Your percentage of budget used at this time should be about 15 or 16% as a way of gauging where we stand on this year's budget. Also, you received a copy of the balance sheet. There's some numbers that'll be changing in this one now that we've got tax settlements done, so you'll see that those change, and I'll point those out to you at your next meeting. Are there any questions on the revenues or expenditure reports or the balance sheet report?
Does not look like it. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the monthly financial report as presented.
Okay, I will support that then. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the financial statement report is adopted. Moving on, number 9, resolution number 6-2023, budget amendment, general fund, public improvement, water and sewer.
Yeah, this budget amendment will provide for the funding for the professional services contract for strategic communications. That's been divided out among funds, and I will monitor the project. If there are specific funds that those activities take place in, we will allocate those expenses to those specific funds or projects. The other one that I want to point out here is the FEMA grant for the fire department radios. The fire department received a 95% grant for this, so the revenues are identified as the city will be receiving, or the fire department will receive $138,649 in grant, and the city will be responsible for a little over $6,000 of that. And those will be put into the public improvement fund, and the public improvement fund did have about a $5,000 unappropriated surplus, so that should cover the grant match that goes with that, so.
Well done, chief, and anyone who worked on that project.
Yeah, it's really nice. That's like getting 5-cent dollars to purchase that. So that's makes a big impact on radios that cost about $3,000 a piece.
Excellent.
Do you have any equity in the old radio? What's happening with that?
These are the 800s. I guess I'll have to I'll meet with Jason afterwards.
Jason's on board. Jason, can you address the value of the radios as they are today, the ones we're replacing? Are they going to be repurposed or turned in, or how will those be addressed?
The radios we have right now are about between 20 and 13 years old, and a lot of the parts they're not providing anymore, and you can't reprogram them. So
Flip the camera.
Would it behoove us at this time, chief, to declare those as surplus? It sounds like they have no value. You can't do anything with them until we say they're surplus.
I think we planned on keeping at least for like the newer 13-year-old ones, just to have to decide if we ever have a huge incident and need them, we'll have them. But
That's a good idea. Oh, great job on that. When do we have to approve that match?
You're doing
It was
that.
We're
approved
doing that as
budget
part of this
amendment.
resolution? Okay, all right. Perfect.
I want to get back to the surplus or not. How many are you keeping out of how many?
I think we're keeping 5 out of 13. Then I have one of the old ones at my house too, so.
Should we declare any surplus or just let it sit until?
Okay,
Okay.
good job.
Thank you, Jason.
Okay, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 6-2023, the budget amendment for the general fund, public improvement, water and sewer.
Okay, motion and support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Moving on, number 10, motor pool fund update.
Okay, at the last meeting, I was asked to provide some comparison between the motor pool funds and where that sets as far as the repair costs. I put together some information here. The first page explains the motor pool fund and its purpose. The second page, I have the graphs available that show the comparison for the first 3 months of this year to January and February of the 2 previous years. As you can see, these are the expenses for repairs and maintenance and supplies in the motor pool. It's just slightly over what it was just a year ago, and it's under from what it was 2 years ago. The next graph on page 3, I show a comparison of the annual expenses that come into that. And you'll see that they fluctuate, of course, during the year. Last year, there was a lot of expenses, or larger expenses in September and November, which is getting ready for the winter season that we're in now. So that made sense to that one. And then for just an idea of what kind of revenues are generated, this time of year, the major and local street funds are the ones that generate the most revenues from equipment rents into the motor pool fund. And you'll see I have the comparison for major and local streets for the first 2 months compared to the last 2 years. So there's 3 years of comparisons there. You'll see that as far as revenues, right now we're about $8,000 less than we were a year ago between the 2 funds into the motor pool, but that's significantly more than it was 2 years ago in 2021. And then I provided you some the equipment rents that come from the major streets and local streets on an annual basis. You'll see that there's a large amount of the revenues come from snow plowing, which is December, January, February, March, and then that tails off. And you'll see that's pretty much the same for both funds. I suspect that the spike in June is cleaning up and ditching and all the other maintenance that takes place on the streets after the cleanup. If you compare these two graphs to the graph on page 3, you'll see that while there's lower amounts of maintenance that is done in the motor pool fund, during the winter months, it actually picks up and balances out. So when they're not plowing snow, they'll be working on that equipment. As far as the projections on where this fund goes, again, it's based on rents. Right now, the major and local streets are providing a majority of the funding that goes into the motor pool to maintain the equipment.
Okay.
Any questions? Is there something I could help with clarifying?
Your Honor, if I might.
Mhm.
The thing I was looking for, Joe, was the input we get from MDOT and the county. There's meters that we maintain.
I can get a report I can run a report for you on the revenues produced through the MDOT contract for basically maintaining state roads in this.
How is that handled? Where does that go?
That goes into the major street funds as a revenue for that.
Yeah, if we could do that for next month,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Thank you.
So,
I think that this is very helpful
Mhm.
and very illustrative of how the revenues and expenditures breaks down. So I appreciate this. It's easy to follow. Thank you.
okay, you're welcome.
Okay, moving on. Resolution 4-2023, request from the Honorable Distillery for off-premises tasting room license at the Mather.
And we have Mr. Anderson on board to talk to any questions you have.
Okay, Mr. Anderson, you can unmute yourself here and let us know what your plan is here.
Yeah, so I don't really have any prepared statements. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just here. I'm just here to express my gratitude for the council actually considering this resolution. I think it's going to be a good thing for us and for Ishpeming. We just opened a distillery in Marquette in August, and we're trying to partner with the Mather Inn to try and help them out with their endeavor as well as to further our own. So, yeah, I'm just here in case there's any questions that I can answer.
Okay.
Your Honor, we've got to ask a couple of people if everything's in order.
Mm-hmm.
Police chief being one. Is everything in order and compliant? First time I've seen it, but It's the first time you've seen it?
Yeah. First time I actually heard about it, but
Well, Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we approve this pending the chief and the attorney's review. If everything's legal and in order, we'd be very happy to have these people come to town. But we should not be sitting here tonight.
I agree.
Without having that reviewed prior.
This should have been reviewed, yep.
So in the anticipation of our attorney and our police chief approving it, I will make the motion.
Okay, and I would agree, these things need to be in the hands of the proper people prior to it coming to a council meeting for the future, please. That is all I will say, but any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, the resolution is adopted, pending the approval from the police chief and city attorney. Okay, now, number 12, we're a public hearing for the proposed sale of Lot 85 and the vacation of alley between Lot 85 and 86 of the Cleveland Iron Company's addition. It is 6:25. I am opening the public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? That either in the room or on Zoom?
Where is that property located?
I'll let you speak, Craig.
It's over right across the street from the school, near Pearl and Fourth. There's a vacant lot the school already owns right next to their parking lot that exists. And then there's another lot and there's a small alley that runs through there. And so.
And I have a quick question on this. That's going to be right where, I mean, they're going to be adding some things to that area pending this. What's the safety there for the kids crossing and stuff like that? I mean, would that be something that we should take a look at down the road as well?
There's no request.
I'm just
for
curious.
use.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask one question, Your
Sure,
Honor.
go ahead.
Is that it shows the city of Ishpeming is the owner on the other side of the alley. Is that, are we saying we're gonna sell that? Or we're just vacating the alley?
No, this is a request, it's two-part.
Yep.
First thing is vacate the alley.
Carrie
If
is here
you-
also to speak.
If you do that, then the way this plat works, it's like the alley is split down the center. And
Don't have that
the east half will go to lot 86 already owned by the school. The west half will go to lot 85 owned by the city. So then you're looking at selling lot 85, which will then include half the alley to the school if they make that request and if you approve that. But right now, the only thing you're looking at is whether you want to vacate that property.
So the sale is not in question tonight.
The sale is not up for tonight. If it comes forward, that has to be at the next meeting.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we do approve the vacation of the alley as described between lots 85.
You have to wait for the next meeting. I think we're still in a public hearing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, first public hearing.
Yeah,
I'm
this is
sorry.
their first public hearing.
Right.
Okay. Carrie, go ahead, yeah.
Carrie Meyer, Superintendent at the Ishpeming Public School District. I did explain this a bit at the last meeting, and I came tonight in case there was any other questions. But since we closed Phelps School a number of years ago, we moved grades 5 through 8 over to the middle school, high school, and the central school part of it. And since they moved there, we have no green space or play space for those young children who are in 5th, 6th grade. And so it has been one of our goals to create a space where these children could go outside and play. And like it was stated, we own the lots to the east side of the alley, which is a parking lot and another lot. But it's not quite big enough to do what our kids would like to see happen when we surveyed them. They would like to see a basketball net with 2 hoops on each side, so a paved area, some play structures of age-appropriate slides and swings. And then volleyball has continued to grow at our district, and so there's many kids that would like to see a volleyball net that can be taken up and down during appropriate seasons. And so with that, we had a UP engineer draft up what it would look like. And so we are asking that the city vacated the alley and sell the lot. I had contacted city manager Craig, and we had discussions over it over the last few months. And so this is the point of the hearing. I guess next month would be a request for the actual sale, but keep in mind that that area then would be maintained by the school. Right now, it's not really used for anything. We would maintain that lot, those lots, and then it will also be an area that any of the community can use when the kids are not in session. And so it will be kind of a park that will be maintained by the school at all times, just because we need it for our children. Does anybody have any questions?
Just to clarify, the funding for that came through the,
Our bond proposal is paying for the playground structures. Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful.
I think I completely agree with everything you're talking about, Carrie. What I don't understand is the administrative part of this. This is a public hearing to vacate the alley.
It's a public hearing, so the public can address the council and let you know how they feel about the concept of vacating the alley and selling lot 85 with that extra 10 feet
Lot
attached to it.
85 is not surplus.
I think you decided at the last meeting that it was.
It was.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So we don't have a public hearing to make it surplus.
No, you had that last month.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And during the last month meeting, we laid out what this month and next month will look for, like, to
Gotcha.
close out
Yes.
the whole process. This is step 2 of this 3-step process, which includes the hearing portion for both the potential of sale and for the vacation of the lot.
Understand, thank you.
Yep.
And then next meeting, you may get a proposal as to what is proposed that you would actually
Extraneous.
do with
Right,
it, such as vacate, sell,
Mhm.
transfer in some other way.
Okay.
Right.
I'm still in COVID fog, I think, so
I think it's a great idea. I
Thank you,
really
Carrie.
do.
Over here.
You're
Thank you,
welcome. Thank
Carrie.
you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay, it is 6:32, closing the public hearing. Nothing further for us then tonight, correct?
Not on this matter.
Okay, all righty, moving on to number 13, public hearing for the proposed access easement lying west of Mountain Road, Section 2, T47N-R27W. It is 6:32, opening the public hearing. Craig, what is this here?
So this is the easements related to the Tim Kinney purchase. So boy, I feel like we're almost 2 years since Tim Kinney bought the lot. And so we, in the last meeting, again, we offered what the process was gonna be, and it was a multiple step, 3-step process. What he's proposing is to be able to have a access point off of Moulton Road into that area as the owner. There was some discussion with the state as it crosses trust fund land and areas where the Iron Ore Heritage Trail is. There were no objections by the state, no objections by the Iron Ore Heritage Trail. So this is the next step in documenting the area of that crossing where he's looking for access to his property.
Okay, so all we have to do, this is our public hearing, and then we move on to the next part next month again? Okay, all right. Is there anybody else that would like to?
You're at 6:33. Do you want?
Yeah, I opened it at 6:32, so,
6:32.
yep. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to that? Okay, hearing none, closing the public hearing at 6:34. All right, moving on. Ordinance 11-700, consideration of sworn statement. Caroline?
So, under the ordinance that you just referred to.
Yep.
I think you all have a copy in your packet. When someone wishes to file some kind of complaint in regard to city officials, the ordinance requires that it come to the council,
Yep.
which it did, and the council can determine what to do with it. You can review the complaint, charges if you will, and you can give anyone anyone listed the opportunity to talk about it, refute it, controvert it, and then it's up to the council to determine whether or not the charges are frivolous, unwarranted, without merit, or unfounded. If you find any of those things, then you're required to dismiss the charges and inform the person who had filed them. If you find the charges have merit, then you need to set a hearing date for it.
Okay. My understanding is that we have to take this one at a time, and so there's, I will be abstaining from the first one.
So I guess I'll take a crack at
Yep,
this.
go ahead.
So I would move that I do not believe the charges against Mayor Chapman that are outlined in this statement to have merit.
Support.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'm abstaining. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Moving on. I will make a motion that any charges against Councilmember Lindsey Bean be deemed frivolous and dismissed.
Support.
I'm abstaining.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on.
I'll make a motion that I read that the charges against Councilmember Scanlon do not have merit.
I'll support that.
I'll abstain.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Moving on. I will make a motion that the charges against Councilmember Stu Skug be deemed frivolous and with no merit. And
I support.
Stu is abstaining. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes.
I'll make a motion that the charges outlined against City Manager Craig Fugini do not have merit.
I support that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay. Moving on. Second reading of amendment to ordinance 8-100, rezoning from mining to general residential.
Sorry, just let me.
Yep, go ahead.
So the planning commission had a public hearing related to this issue, and their recommendation is that we move forward with allowing this rezoning.
Okay.
So they've documented their recommendation to the council.
Your Honor, I will make a motion that we do accept the planning commission's recommendation and act on the same. Our zoning is kind of a mishmash, and I learned firsthand that these people work really hard
Yeah,
to do the right thing, so I will move that we go along with their recommendation
I'll
and
support
grant
that.
it.
Yeah, I'll support that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance has been amended. Okay, moving on to number 16, repairs to DPW salt sand truck number 158. Bill and Craig?
Truck 158 is the one that we got from the county. There's another repair that needs to be done. We're looking at having JX Truck Country do the repairs. It's a critical part of the machine. The machine has been down for probably, well, just after the last council meeting. JX Truck Country is offering to do the repairs themselves for $8,127.83. The other alternative is to buy the parts from Crossroads Truck Repair for about the same dollar amount, but then we have to do the truck repair. Pretty much the piece of equipment is down until this gets approved. And I do have some more documents if you guys need any information about past repairs to this piece of equipment.
This is one of our fairly newer ones, correct?
No, this is not. This
Oh,
is
it
the
isn't.
piece of equipment that you guys traded a Vector truck for.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
So this is one of those that the mechanics went over and worked with the county to see whether there was an opportunity for working together in reciprocal, and it's not worked out wonderfully as far as total cost, but it was still better than what we had.
Right.
And it's still more affordable at the time than a new truck, which was out of our affordability range. And the repairs will make it work, but at some point we have to decide a longer term strategy for this, right? So we are still in a snow season and down a salter sander with, we haven't really planned for a replacement of this. And
We're looking
we're looking at it.
We're looking at the prices right
It
now.
wasn't planned to have turnaround places. We thought this was gonna last longer, but we haven't put substantial dollars into this.
Yeah, I
at
didn't
this
look at
point,
that.
so.
Well, Your Honor, that's my question. We're doing a lot of talk about, we were hoping, we were wishing it was a used truck.
Yeah.
We cut the deal. You're not gonna win every time? Are we losing?
I think I'm gonna agree with you on that. There's a lot of costly repairs to this thing.
Well,
But
you know,
it's
the
to the
cost
point, it's to the point though it's to the point where you pretty much, you're too far gone. You need to do the repairs and just bite the bullet, and it is what it is. But you will never see a recommendation come from me about a used vehicle again.
Okay. I would actually agree with you on this one. I think
Is there something
it's a
on
smarter idea.
the radar?
Yeah, we've been contacting all the truck companies. You're looking at,
I mean specifically on this. The old crystal ball, is it showing this is pending for failure?
no, it's just every time we fix something, something else just breaks, and it's just,
But there's nothing glaring at you right now.
there's nothing. No, we weren't expecting this one either.
But
We thought the rear axles were gonna be good, and no, literally right after we got it back, this failed.
And we're looking at replacement of this, I would hope, then soon.
Mhm.
Okay.
And it was essentially the same price to have it repaired versus to purchase the.
Correct. Yeah. We just don't have the manpower to do the repairs right now.
And it's like, we're sitting here in March, and it's like, if we didn't do this, we wouldn't be, I mean, how long is it gonna take for this to get fixed?
This won't be used this plow season. It probably will not be done before the season, because it's gonna take at least 4 weeks to order the part.
Well, that's why I asked the question.
Exactly, yeah.
So we basically have been borrowing Nagani's, renting it from them on a as-need basis if we get into the really icy conditions.
For just on a personal note, we're not gonna use it this year.
Yeah.
We have a window of opportunity.
Mhm.
If it was my truck, I don't know that I'd dump $9,000 into it
Yeah.
unless my mechanic says, you know, I think you'll get a year or two out of this. Not signing a paper, that says we will. If we're guided by our DPW mechanic crew, one way or the other, that's what I'd like to hear.
Same.
I can get their opinion and have it for you.
Because if we're gonna, why throw 9 away if we're gonna have to apply that to a new truck?
Well, and potentially.
It can be our backup then. I mean, it's,
Would it have any value in trade or sale?
it might to another community, if we get it running and put it on the market, but right now you can't even sell it because it won't run.
No, make it a little bit simpler. If we move forward with the approval, what's your intention? To go into next year with that truck?
As a backup,
number
but
two?
as a number 2 or number 3, but you'll be seeing an ask of you guys to buy a new vehicle, but in talking with Craig, we also just purchased a vehicle from CCI, basically another sander that doesn't run, but I know that I can put that sander on another truck that we have and the underbody on something else that we have. So we'll have plenty of sanders, but
I have a question, so, and this might, I'm getting a little ahead, but why do none of our sanders have any belly blades on them? I feel like.
yeah, we do.
One does?
Yeah, we do. And that's why I just purchased this next truck.
Oh, gotcha.
We're going to take it off of that one and put it on ours.
Did we approve that purchase?
It was only $2,900.
So what we've been doing in this strategy is figure out how to get ourselves through the winter. That's the short-term strategy, right? One of those things is to get ourselves a vehicle that we know isn't gonna be any more than parts to us, but try to improve our situation and carry us further.
Right.
And while we look like we're limping this along, we are. It does also buy us a little more window because we're not sure we have the ability or the funding to support the maintenance request, as you saw in the projections of how maintenance goes, right? We still haven't gotten into our maintenance pricing for the year, where we spend our dollars and where we sit related to buying a new piece of equipment. But we believe we're at least going to be able to start the season and buy ourselves that through it. Could we wait? Could we push this a little bit and say, we don't need to make this decision? If it takes 4 weeks to repair, we're into the first week of April.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, you could wait. The question is, where are we at? And I don't know that we're.
So
prices can go up.
I don't know that we knew it was gonna be a 4 weeks when we were putting this together right away.
No.
Prices are gonna go up or down. Availability mechanics will go up and down.
So we have a.
Snow in May.
Right?
I mean, we have a special council meeting coming up too. Could we wait to make a decision until we hear from the mechanics? Or is it recommended to bite the bullet and fix it?
I mean, it seems to me like it makes sense to fix it. I think there are several valid arguments for fixing it right now. So I would make a motion that we approve the repairs to have done by,
JX Truck Country.
I'll support that. I guess what I wanted to hear to calm me down a little bit is, we'll throw the 9 into it and we'll have a fairly decent mediocre, and I didn't hear any of that.
You'll have it'll be back to normal. It'll be back to running. Don't know what's going to happen next or if anything's going to happen next.
And that's understandable, Billy.
But it will run and it all will operate. It might run for 10 years.
I guess I'm more along the lines of, is it even worth fixing right now, and with winter winding down? So that's where I'm at, but.
Back to that report that we showed you earlier on our stuff, there is still a large amount of money that goes into snow maintenance in the month of March.
I know.
And we're just beginning the month of March. So we're going to be borrowing, renting, whatever, in the meantime, like we have been, looking for that ability to keep salting and sanding roads. We're in that transition window now. If you've noticed, the roads are getting slicker, right? You get this warmer, colder, rather than just a deep freeze. So all of that matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
which April is still that month, right? So.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. That passes. Moving on, number 17, establish salary range for the city treasurer position.
So we need to, we have the position on the street, the position closed last night, or closes tonight, I can't remember the date, but closes today. So we are now in the point where we posted that it's commensurate with work or with experience, but we've not generated that range. And so where we are trying to figure out is the way it's been done in the past versus where we've changed the position to where we're structured now. You've got a finance office manager at, Kathy, you gotta help me out with these numbers in my head today. 56, 65, kind of backwards, there we go. And Sarah's over here too. And then we added the management onto the treasurer and the finance office manager at that range. You're looking at a treasurer who's doing nearly the level of work as the finance office manager with a seniority level of the office manager. So trying to figure out where it is. You're currently at 49. So probably with all the work she's been doing is probably demonstrating a need to have been raised. You know where the top end is, looking for what you think a treasurer looks like. I'm at the point where I think on a minimally qualified person, you're at that 49, 50,000, and on the high end of someone who has a CPA and is a lot of experience in managing those types of things is crunching the 55 to 57 range, maybe in commensurate experience, and looking for your input onto where you feel we should be targeting. And I have not seen who has or has not applied at this point, so it's not about that, it's about the treasury work that's there. It's about the payroll, the myriad of things that are going on from cash collection to managing, every day, looking into systems and making system improvements. Sarah's done a lot of that system improvement effort with the BSNA. Bill's been contributing to the BSNA improvements. Joe's been doing significant changes to the way we present those things. And so you're seeing this transition, and we're still living that transition of trying to figure out what that looks like, but it is significantly different than what we had when Caitlin was in the office.
What was your range? 49 to
I had that like 49 to 57 is sort of in my, I prefer to keep it like a $10,000 range, so maybe it's 47 to 57 kind of range.
And you need a motion from us?
I need, I guess,
This a
yeah, I
motion
guess
that-
there's a motion of where you want to set that at, and
I'll make a motion that we set the salary range at 48,000 to 58,000.
I'll support that. We'll go through the numbers.
That's where it's going.
One other question, Your Honor. Do we have a written job description for this position?
so we are close. We are not complete, but it was the dance between where Jim was doing stuff and Caitlin was doing stuff and juggling it and figuring out, okay, what portions of things does Kathy do? What portions is everybody doing? And we've got those all drawn up, and now it's like putting the puzzle back together.
Will we have it prior to
Before the selection,
employment?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving on to camping rules for Brasswire Campground.
So we have this committee of staff effort, and as we're getting the website information ready to go and get published. We have drafted, pulled from various sources, camping rules. Those camping rules were analyzed and talked through the attorney's office, talked through the DPW office, talked through the finance office, and then presented to the Parks and Rec Board. And Bill, I believe the Parks and Rec Board is recommending that these be the adopted rules for the campground. And so we believe this is just one more step in the effort of opening the campground in the spring. And we know that there will be change, but this is a good starting platform. It has been in use in many different places.
Do we need a motion for this? Or is this more of awareness?
I think we should probably have a motion, which I will move, so.
Okay.
It does say proposed, but it says proposed by Rec Commission. And I'd like to see more evidence of that when we do something like this, as a communication from Parks and Rec to City Council, like the Planning Commission.
So I'd be happy to speak to that. So we were presented with these rules at the last meeting 2 weeks ago. And we did review them pretty much line by line, removed some items, changed the language of other items, and discussed at length the per night fee. So I do feel as if the board reviewed pretty thoroughly what was presented. I don't know that we added anything to it. I don't think we did, but we did change the language of a few things. We removed some.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So motion.
Sorry, I'll just make it a point to speak up more.
I'll support it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay.
Sorry, while it is not necessarily outlined as an item on here, the fees are recommended at the $25 per night, which will go into our fee schedule. So I think that's
separate motion.
I don't know that I can, it's on the document, but it wasn't on the agenda as a.
You can still make the motion to amend the fee schedule to add a fee. Certainly.
I would make a motion that we amend the fee schedule to include $25 per night camping fee.
Support.
For Grassfire Campground.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the schedule has changed, $25 a night for Brasswire Campground. Excellent job. Okay, moving on to old business. We are going to start with Pat.
On old business, snow removal, unrelated to our constituent, but I guess it's just old age, but I'm having a lot more trouble. I don't agree with the windrow down Main Street to keep snow off the sidewalk when we plow.
It's driving me nuts.
I think we have to go back in time and raise the priority on that.
I agree.
At least the active areas, Main Street for one.
We're continuing to still get complaints about that down there from the businesses and the residents.
And they shovel the path to get into their store, and without question, within 20 minutes, somebody's gonna park there
Exactly.
and block it.
That needs to be moved to a much higher priority, as does the library, because I went to the library too and it was bad.
So I don't think it's something that council has to move on.
But it needs to get better.
I think that discussion is enough,
Yep,
that it has a higher priority to at least some councilors.
yep. Because my phone rang off the hook for the last 2 weeks just on this issue alone. So I agree.
And, our guys are doing a fantastic job. I just think that's something that we always used to do it.
Yes.
And maybe we did it too much.
And now we have
But
a
now
new,
we kind of went the other way.
when
we talked about saving money and trying to do a better job, more economical, we moved the mark. Well, I think we got to move it back a little bit.
didn't we just buy a brand new snow or a snow blower attachment? That should be put in.
And I don't think that's the issue at all.
No,
I think the sidewalk plow is doing good. They gotta go around the streetlights, and it's not an easy task. For my part, it's the
that Windrow.
Main Street, probably night shift. I don't know, that's Bill's call.
Well, and
Him and the manager.
division too, because a lot of people trying to get into the beauty shop over there too are having problems, and I've
But I
seen
guess
more than
my-
one person fall.
My request is that you two revisit it,
I agree.
and that is all I have for old.
Okay, Des? Stu? Lindsay? I don't have anything either. Craig? No?
No, I'm gonna put under new business.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, new business, we'll start with Stu. Lindsay? Pat?
I'd like to see these TV monitors moved to the other outlet, Craig.
Yeah.
We talked about this a long time ago, and that's wired, right?
So the room, those TV monitors were set up for training, not for council meetings.
So-
We're using them for council meetings, an alternate option. We could look at possibly getting additional ones or relocating.
So
but they were set up so that we could have a training environment sort of in that direction.
one of the.
Not a problem,
Yeah.
but they can train just as well down here.
One of the requests, though, that I had when we were looking at possibly revamping this Council U was a monitor in front of each one of us, and I think that would solve that. And then those could go on, get mounted onto something that swivels, so people
Well,
can
I-
see
I
that.
would- To keep costs down, I would be tickled pink if we could just move them. It's set up, there's power there, we'd be moving at 6, and I could turn around and look at one or the other.
I think it's just removing and connecting to the blank. The blank should be where there's a cable hanging out to connect the internet side.
It would be
of it, but
minimal
yeah.
cost, but it would be huge for council.
And put them on those swivel brackets too would really help too.
That was the only, no.
Okay? Diz? No, I don't have anything that I'll bring up under new business. So Craig?
So, like, new business council report, I don't know, the trip down to Lansing. I'm just gonna call it new business because
Sure.
one of the items is to generate a trip report.
Which you'll
So
have in
I'm
person.
working on the format, so to speak, 'cause it could be easier just to give you just a written document, but I think it's, what we're trying to do is give you the holistic approach of what were the programmed expenses, what were the council's decisions about the expenses, how were they utilized, what was charged, what wasn't charged, what was authorized, not authorized. Then what did we do? Who do we see? Right, and I'm structuring it because it could be the manager conference, it could be me going down, be a presentation in June, could be this legislative visit, so I'm trying to structure it in a way that it's kind of capturing all things, reports enduring for all trips. But then there'll be, in this case, there'll be a list of the tasks that Jason did to prep for the meeting, or the meetings, and the things that I did, and a summary of our tasks, and then lessons learned, and then some roll-ups of the data. So we're working on that. I believe it'll be ready for you in the near future, and not yet.
It'll be a full
But
written
in the
report.
gist of the summary for today, just to give you a kind of a concept.
Well,
of
let me,
what to
with the
write.
work you got going,
Yeah.
that personally, I want 2 separate reports.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because you guys weren't joined at the hip. So how Jason felt about
Sure.
the individual and how you felt about him, that type of thing. We got 2 way different personalities. So I'd like to have,
Understood, and it wasn't gonna be one summary roll-up for, it was his actions and his summary of his actions, key events, key actions, and then his lessons learned, my lessons learned, and it would be that way for whoever was engaged. So there's 5 of us that went down, everybody would have that section that way.
Perfect.
But it'll be on one rolled up report, so you're not looking at, like, trying to flip pages and trying to figure out whether you're on Jason's report or Craig's report to be broken down.
well, and that sounds perfect, because then that enables council to say, we're talking about item A, whether it's a meeting or a conference, and that was Jason's forte. You know, if you got a question about that, talk to the mayor. If you got a question about this one, talk to the manager. So it sounds like you.
Yeah, we're working on that, and I can say the meetings went well. We were well received by everybody down there. You know, I will be doing a lot of follow-up individually, one-on-one with those legislators that we met with, just to see where we're at. But yeah, I mean, for me, all the meetings went well. Everybody understood why we're asking for what we're asking for. And face-to-face is much better. So at least from my perspective, it was a worthwhile trip down there. But I will have a detailed report as well.
Yeah, and so while that was all going on, there was this like crazy sidebar stuff kind of happening in my world as well. I was in the hotel that we stayed at when I got back in the afternoon. There was a MIRMA conference going on, and I'm sure that at one point they invited me to it, but I looked at it and said, oh, that's in conflict with this trip, so I'm not going to respond. It ended up being in our hotel, so I went to the membership meeting, and in that membership meeting, we watched how some of those RAP grants are being unfolded and decided upon, and our rep said, hey, we still haven't seen your application for RAP on the campground fire rings. There's still money, get that application in. So I sent it to Joe did it, and it's signed and submitted. So there's still some opportunity there. So it resulted in, you know, most likely it's already pre-approved, one of those pre-approved grants. So it's going to fall in as long as there's funding there. So we did that. And then the next day there was another thing going on in the lobby that said Michigan Humanities, and I wasn't sure what that was. And unfortunately Carrie ducked out, but the Michigan Humanities was running a poetry competition where high school students compete in reciting poetry, and there's different ways in which they get scored for accuracy, presentation, and other things that are going on. It turns out that this year Calumet had someone that registered, Marquette and Negaunee had one, but nobody in Ishpeming has for a couple of years now. So I talked to them about maybe talking to Carrie about doing something with our school and maybe even doing some sort of regional prep. But that is a scholarship program that the state scholarship, the places are $250, $500, $750, I think, and $1,000. And then the winner of that goes on to the national, which has a $20,000 scholarship attachment to it. But Michigan Humanities also has the touring grant, which they will offer up to $3,000 in a calendar year for supporting events like Music in the Park. We got one of those. Music at our 4th of July picnic. We got one of those. So I was immediately calling people. The application period is May 1st, and that money goes quick. There's 4 different rounds of it throughout the year. Obviously, the most popular one is the one that covers the summer. But we're going to put our names in that, and maybe we'll see some additional benefit to our music activities in town too. So, you know, regardless of where I was down there for, these other opportunities just kind of juggled themselves into the way. But on bad side of news, the Michigan State MI grants program they were piloting to generate capacity to help communities apply for grants. They have canceled their pilot program because of their shooting that they had, and they readjusted how they were operating, where money was going and resourcing. So they've turned off that pilot program. We were, in fact, one of their 2 communities selected. They called me on our way down and said, hey, we're really sorry, but they're going to work with us. But we also were able to take their packet in and insert it in a communication with the legislators that said, hey, not part of our packet, but capacity building is huge for small communities, and we just shared that document and recommended that maybe there's a Upper Peninsula school program in 2 downstate that could be funded to support rural communities and capacity building. So that happened. We went downhill, but we also were able to boost some support and gain some control with the Michigan State University in their programming.
Sounds like lots of opportunity.
And for me, I ended up having a second impromptu meeting with the Speaker of the House, and just to kind of, he had some time and I had a little bit of time, so I just wanted to reiterate just how important this stuff is. I extended him an invitation to come up for the 150th. He was up here last summer in Ishpeming. I had some conversations with the Michigan Building Trades Union and the Laborers International, just about some potential stuff that maybe they'll have coming up this way. And, you know, saying, hey, Ishpeming would be a great place to land a little bit of this stuff, maybe some training stuff. Randomly had a meeting with the general manager of Costco in Lansing when I was there shopping, and they are looking at putting a Costco in Marquette County. They have not decided where, and they're not set on it being in Marquette. So there's that conversation. But, you know, I think, and I ended up having dinner with some former colleagues who are also trying to help with some of the budget asks. And so now it's just kind of leveraging, trying to talk to the right people, make sure we get and we also have a meeting tomorrow morning with with our federal partners on the same subject. So we are continuing to go up every single tree. And I also got a tour of the Hall of Justice while I was down there from one of our appellate judges, Michelle Rick, who's become a very, very close friend of mine, and what a wonderful person she is. And she'll be coming up here for probably the Anatomy of a Murder screening. She'll probably speak, I think, at that. She brought a bunch of rural justices from all over the country up here to Ishpeming. They were at the Mather, and Bill knows Michelle already, and so there's that partnership there already. So Michelle will be back up here, but
Sounds good.
yeah, so that was pretty good. I have no other new business. Caroline, you have anything?
Nothing.
Okay, alrighty. Moving on then to our second public comment period. You have 3 minutes per person if you would like to speak. Is there anybody in the room? Okay, Karen Casper.
My
Nope.
name is Karen Casper, and I live at 111 Bluff Street. And I want to reference Pat's comment about the plowing of the sidewalks. The area where the MarkTran buses meet to transfer riders needs to be bumped up a bit on the scale of when it gets plowed and when the sidewalk gets plowed. You have a lot of riders on those buses, and a number of them use walkers, wheelchairs, or are otherwise elderly. And when you have to climb over those ridges twice, once to get off a bus and the second time to get on the bus, it gets old really fast.
Karen, is that the one that by the old senior center?
Yes.
I agree, because that we've also had several requests over the years to have a better snow blowing from the high rise downtown, and I hope we could figure out.
Yes,
how
I
to
tried
get
to walk
that
down from the
done,
high rise
too.
today, and I ended up going down Pine Street and around because Main Street,
Yeah,
I would have feared for my life because it was very icy
We
and
gotta
that
do
type
better.
of stuff.
I agree.
Anyway.
Thanks, Karen. Anybody else? Public comment? Nobody on in Zoom world, so closing our second public comment, moving on to mayor and council reports. We will start with Diz. Pat.
I was doing some other business with Al and looking at the area around pit number, whatever it is, by the old waterworks, and I'm wondering, where are we at with the Heritage parking lot and the Dan Perkins?
So
I don't like when everybody laughs and nods their head.
That was gonna be on mine too, by the way.
Well,
Yeah.
so the short answer is we're really close. The long answer is that we are trying to assess realistically where the road sits physically in relationship to the physical request of space that they're asking. There's a drawing where they're showing a 15-foot easement, but asking for 12 in some of their documentation. There's the, it's a survey, but it's not a survey. It's labeled as an easement. It should be a lease. There's Al's assessment of where the right-of-way center is and where the city owns land versus Dan Perkins land. We're trying to resolve those just those final differences to hopefully have something before you for the special, so that it gets to the Iron Ore Heritage Trail before their March 23rd meeting.
Yeah,
So
'cause they
we think
are-
it's coming quickly, but we're just dancing
So
around
there's
those
no,
little
there's no
little feet
opposition of
measurements.
any kind, we're all.
We have
on
no
the same-
no, we have no
It's-
opposition that we know of at this point.
They've-
It's just literally getting the documents lined up with Ts crossed, Is dotted, to make sure that the linear feet width and location are correctly marked as part of that lease
And
agreement.
the communication needs to get better between them too, because right now the Heritage Trail Association's not very happy with us, so,
With what?
Well, I talked to their director today and she's not having a problem.
so now I'm getting a different one from the
I
same
don't
thing,
know. I
so.
talked to the director. I don't know
Yeah,
who you
that's
talked
where
to.
I'm getting the
Who's having
same
issue
thing,
with what?
so, well, anyway, there's been some conversations from the director that there's been some issues with the Washington Street thing, so that's where I'm
So
getting
you talked to
mine.
Carol as well?
That made it to me from 3 different people, but
Not Carol.
again, from Carol to somebody else,
that's-
and came to
that's why I
me 3
called
times.
Carol.
And I'm glad you did, because I don't know why we're getting things coming
The-
back at
the
us 5
funding-
different ways here.
Is an issue, but it's not gonna be an issue until September. So another week or two isn't gonna falter anything.
Well, they
It seems to be close.
specifically asked us to see if we could get it ready before the 23rd of March, so they could go to their meeting on the 23rd of March. And we already have a special lined up.
Mhm.
So we've been working the eaches. Al gave us some drawings the other day. We gotta work and just line those lines up.
Okay.
And then have Larry redo what he's written where it says easement, to change it to the title of a lease. And, just dot and I's,
Would that
cross
be
Ts.
like our usual lease, 100-year?
So we're
50-year
hoping, we're
renewal?
planning to pair it to the lease that they have with Dan Perkins, so that if
Oh,
one
okay.
runs out, the other's together. If they get it renewed, they get them both renewed together. But if one cancels and we have one that's 100-year enduring and the other person cancels, it doesn't make sense. So we're pairing those together in our planning process.
Very good.
If the council is going to approve a long-term lease with the Heritage Trail, you want it to be in a position where they can actually maintain a trail there, and you're not unnecessarily narrowing Washington Street, which would impair the ability to use Washington
Right.
Street fully. And so we need to be careful on it.
And it sounds like it's moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
So, anything else?
No, that's it.
Lindsay?
I don't know, I went to the planning commission meeting on Monday, actually 2 weeks ago. And I guess my only real update is a request that people would donate to the UP Hospice Foundation, which supports the hospice organization that has an office here in Ishpeming. And that they do that by voting for myself and Mark as we are competing in the Dancing with Our Stars Marquette County style dance competition that will take place in May with 2 performances.
Are we getting invites to this?
You can gladly, I would highly encourage you to buy a ticket.
I was gonna say 25 bucks a
The proceeds go
I'm sure.
to the UP Hospice Foundation, which provides hospice services for throughout Marquette County.
I'll be happy to
And
buy
I think
one.
some of that extends beyond Marquette County as well. So I ask you to vote for me, but it's a donation to the Hospice Foundation. You can go to the Dancing with Our Stars website. It's all over Facebook. There's a very nice photo of Mark and I, and we will be dancing the Paso Doble in May. So if I can learn to dance and do 2 performances at Forrest Roberts Theater, you can donate $10 to the UP Hospice Foundation.
I think that's a
Councilman
fair
Stug is
ask.
writing down, what in the world is Paso Doble?
I'll be happy to fill you in once I know more. As I
Okay.
do not know how to dance that currently, and I will be learning, so that's my.
Stu? No? Okay. This Friday, just a reminder, is Spread Goodness Day, as we proclaimed at our last meeting that it is Spread Goodness Day in Ishpeming, but also in the state, so please go out and do some good deeds for some people. That's a big deal. Also, today is International Women's Day, so you know, it's a day to recognize all of these strong women leaders in our community and our world, and I'm thankful that I have we have excellent leaders in this community. And I'd also give a shout out to my mom, who's a wonderful leader as well on International Women's Day. And other than that, getting questions again about the Johnson Street. They would like to see if something could get done before the 82-year-old woman's basement floods, because it happens every single year. So that was the other thing I need to bring up. So other than that, I'm good. Caroline, anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, Craig?
So, Marquette Monthly has a freelance reporter that used to live in Ishpeming off of Mather Street, now lives, I think, in Wisconsin. She called while I was downstate. She has interviewed Karen and David A. and then myself about the 150th. Karen and David A. or just David A. Were you part of the one today?
David did the televised WhatsApp, and we both did a radio interview.
Okay, so PBS, TV, and radio about the 150th and the Ishpeming Historical Society and what we're planning with the 150th coming around that. And then working on that siren contract with Caroline. We've been dancing around that a couple times the last couple days. An event that came up while I was downstate was regarding childcare grants, and apparently it's a struggle, as I know all too well with grants, but sometimes our local businesses that are participating in grant programs also struggle with the red tape of government bureaucracy, but learning some of the ins and outs, I was able to make contact with one of their program directors that is the organization that's executing the child care grants, and learning a little bit about the structure, and we'll probably be sitting with the regional coordinator and trying to lay out some stuff, but was able to maybe nudge along some packets that resulted in, I think, some awards yesterday for local child care provider. The packets that we put together and took down to Lansing, there's still a handful left available. So if you wanted one, not a pocket reference, but it would be available for you to carry and have available for reference if you wanted one.
I think we should keep one in the manager's office.
This is excellent.
For a couple of months anyway.
Yeah, and I have everything digitally that can be shared, whether you want it digitally or whether you want a hard copy. But if you wanted a hard copy, I have a couple of bone copies for the council available. And then creeping a little bit forward on the USDA composting. I think we're close to a agreement between ourselves and Partridge Creek Farm so that we can move forward with the USDA and QPAD. So creeping along on those agreements.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we did hire one heavy equipment operator, a library clerk, 2 heavy equipment operators turned down jobs. We hired a greaser, so that was an internal promotion, and we think we have somebody that might be lined up to do the meter reading background.
What do you mean 2 heavies turned down jobs?
So we had 2 qualified candidates that we offered the jobs, and then one said they were offered another job elsewhere and they were competing, and they asked for a couple more days to compare what they were being offered from one place to another, and selected the other. I don't know anything about the other organization. And then,
But they were both outside.
All 3 were outside candidates, yes. And then the greaser was promoted from part-time meter reader to greaser. And so we'll be filling the part-time meter reader. We think we have somebody that's interested to drop in an application on that. The treasurer position closes today, so we believe we have a couple applications there. The library clerk is now hired, starts next week, I think. Okay. So moving along, and then Chad's gotten his officers kind of pre-screened and ready to go, and they'll be going to the academy. So the selections we made there will be moving forward. So making some progresses on the hiring actions.
And we only have 3 out of the 5 of the evaluations. We can either go into closed session or we can push that to our next meeting.
Your Honor, I
I'd like
think
to
we
make
should
a,
go into.
hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
Before you guys go on, I was going to mention this during the motor pool, some other stuff, but as far as the sidewalks go and that, our guys are doing a great job. The sidewalk plows that we have, both of them have been down repeatedly this winter. And if you guys would have been out during the last snowstorm, you would have seen 2 guys going down the street with snow blowers, handheld, trying to get Main Street open up.
I did see that.
You're going to be getting a sheet, something like this, probably hopefully before the next meeting. This was done by the previous mechanics. The red indicates equipment that he felt was very bad. The blue is bad, and then the green and yellow are fair to good. We have a lot of equipment that is aging in the city. Both of our sidewalk plows are constantly being repaired. Both sanders are constantly being repaired. The Vector truck has been causing issues. So we're going to be getting together with my assistant foremans, and we're going to be putting together all the equipment that we feel that we need to get repaired or replaced. And then it will be on your guys' decision on which ones you guys want to try and go after.
And we have 2 fire
Well,
engines.
I appreciate your report, but let me strongly clarify. The comments aren't about our employees.
No, I'm not at all. I'm just saying our guys, they were,
Until I'm done, Bill. Secondly, isn't one of those a fairly new Holter
Yeah.
sidewalk plow?
it
I
is
shouldn't hear
a,
about that as an excuse.
no, it's been down constantly. It's not a new.
Needs to be up.
It's not a new piece of equipment. It is a used piece of equipment that we picked up again. We didn't buy it new. We bought it from another community, is my understanding. We bought it from somebody that was getting rid of it.
We bought it from a contractor,
245 hours on it.
Right,
but it needs to be up.
correct.
This isn't the time to talk about crappy equipment.
And we have other ways to do
We gotta get it going.
so.
We've been trying.
Make it perfectly clear. It's not about employees.
No, I know it.
I'm tired of that.
No, it's not. I'm
You
saying
bring
our
something
guys,
up here and it goes back to the employees that the council's complaining.
not at once. They'd never do it. I tell them every day that you guys are constantly complimenting them. We've been trying to use pickup trucks to jump curbs to do the sidewalks. One of the guys decided to go home and go get a snow blower, and they started doing Main Street.
Okay, we got the task. We understand the task.
And instead of.
And that's a tribute to our employees to do that. And they deserve for this council to step up and say, get the equipment running.
Yeah.
So message has been sent.
And if the plows aren't working, maybe we gotta get snow blower attachments for them or whatever we have to do, but it's been like this for 2 years. We gotta get this right. Okay,
Getting back to your statement, I would make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268A to consider periodic personnel evaluations of the city manager
okay,
to discuss the system.
yep, perfect. Okay, roll call, Kathy.
I'll support that.
Mayor Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Bean?
Yes.
Councilmember Furby? Yes. Councilmember Scanlon?
Yes.
Councilmember Scugg? No?
He did, didn't he?
Well, what Stu is alluding to, I think, is that you just stated that there were only 3 out of 5 brought to
Right.
the point of the meeting.
Well, point of order, Councilman Scuggs, absolutely right. The point of order that I would like to make is there's problems with the system that we're using.
Are we in
Yeah.
closed session?
No,
I don't think so.
no.
So we're discussing city business when we're not in any session?
No, we didn't adjourn.
Okay,
So,
We're in limbo right now.
so I
here
think.
we are.
Yeah,
That's
so I
kind of
think
my
to-
point is,
so I
let's,
think-
I'll resend.
So I think
My motion.
to Stu's point, though, is that the closed session is to consider a periodic evaluation, and there isn't one, I don't believe.
Right, and
In the absence of one, if you have a question about your process in the system, you would stay in open session to have that conversation.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's absolutely right.
And all I did was remove some of the things that kind of felt redundant and added a few other things.
Well, Your Honor,
I don't know.
I'll withdraw my
Okay.
motion.
I would withdraw my second.
And I'm of the opinion that you're not prepared to conduct that closed session, so I would not request to have that.
Okay.
If you, I don't know where it goes, whether because it's not on the agenda to have a conversation about the process, whether that's this
You
month
can
or
have
next
a
month.
conversation, but there should be, if it says closed session, it should be clear that's not what you're doing. And
Yes,
then
yes.
have the conversation on this item so that you can get organized as to what you are gonna do.
Yeah, and I
That's fine.
I wasn't under the impression that we had anything ironed out in stone, so all I did was simplified it a little bit and took off a few redundant things and added a few things, but
We're still in session.
yeah, I understand that.
We need to ask them to be quiet in there.
Oh, we're still in session yet, please. So yeah, so that's what I did. I guess I didn't know that we had an ironed out one yet, so. And before we do that, I think the entire council should have their input added to that.
Well, my position, go ahead and ask.
You did, yes.
And on the other hand, I'm not finishing mine. I got to question, I'm looking for a number here, just not gonna,
Yeah, there's no numbers on it.
oh, yeah, correct. I got to a point on it when I started thinking, and that's when I text Your Honor, about how we're gonna cumulatively take all this data, because in the past, we've done 5, and we worked hard to do the math, and there was a council evaluation. There was 5 of us, so total divided by 5 was the evaluation, for lack of a better word. But we bounced back and forth, and by we, I'm talking about the mayor, past mayor. We bounced that back to council on a couple of occasions, if I remember right, and said, would you guys change anything? Review this, see what you think about it. And I think that needs to happen again.
So we've used that same evaluation format we used that for 2 years. It was the same questions, the same format, with the same evaluation math, I guess, in calculating that score. And that was part of the contract that we agreed on. So that language was in there as an appendix to that. And so there was room for an abbreviated version for a mid-year evaluation, and then the complete one was the annual evaluation. And as I said, those have been the same criteria with the same scale, with the same math at the end that has been used all along. And Jason, the questions that you sent out are not a tweak of that, they were a complete rewrite of that.
Some
They were
were.
completely different questions.
Some were,
And
but some were not.
so.
But I felt like there needed to be some other things in there because I didn't know that we had anything ironed out.
So, yeah, we absolutely have, and we've been using the same
Oh, I was-
process
I
for 2
was
years, and
never- I was
sent
never-
that
I know
to
you did.
In January,
But
when
I
you
was,
asked for
I
it.
know that, but I was never given opportunity during that to add my input either. So this is something that, again,
You've had,
Why would you say you didn't have an option?
I didn't know that I would have been allowed to provide any new input to something, so
Everybody did.
I-
5 people.
I don't remember having,
we've been using
The
the
right
same
to any-
evaluation
Yeah.
for 2 years.
And are we talking about changing the criteria by which I'm evaluated at
Well,
the
if-
end of my
if they're
rating
not-
period? How can you do that? You can't,
Okay,
you
but I'm
can't
not
change the
trying to do
criteria by
that,
which
though.
I'm evaluated at the end of my evaluation period.
So I think that's the problem in all of this, is that because we have a contract with Craig, and we're a year into it, and we've already done it once, I think we have to use the same evaluation for the remainder of the contract.
Well, I apologize. I didn't think that that was going to be a big deal because I really didn't. And I was just trying to,
I'll say that the evaluation has room to add additional questions on the end. That has always been an option that was written into it, is that additional questions can be added at the end, but there are 10 performance criteria, which each have bullet points under that have been evaluated on a scale of 1 to 5.
So I think, correct me if I am wrong, Caroline, that if we were to, since it is a part of the contract, the evaluation, if we were to change any of the questions, we would need to bring it to Greg and he would agree upon that, since it
and
is
I
a change
apologize for that then.
of what we had originally both agreed upon,
Well, I don't know about the change of like wording or questions kind of thing.
or like adding
But if
additional
it's,
questions.
if it's like criteria or goals or something, you want to always advise someone in advance as to how they're going to be evaluated. So if the council wanted to do that, it would be now for next time, not for this time. Yeah. Did I
Yes,
get it?
yes.
Okay. And that was not my intent. I felt there was some that were kind of redundant and I just added a few different things, but my intent was not for that at all.
I've never seen it. I have no idea what we're even talking about, other than
So
we established a
I
criteria by which
I
plan
can
to be
send,
evaluated.
I can work with Lindsay to send the original one out for this next special council meeting. I would like to see 2 questions added to that then. If that's appropriate.
Well, if anything is altered, it has to come back to council. You can't remember, we're all just 20%.
Agreed.
So if you, and I'm not saying I don't agree,
But
if you're gonna change 2 things, you gotta come back.
Yeah, there's a standard set of questions, and then I believe that the outline of that provided an opportunity to add additional open-ended questions at the end of it. But the evaluation, so the quantitative part should theoretically stay the same every time, and then the open-ended or qualitative questions at the end are not included in any part of the scoring, but there could be questions that are asked that would.
Yes, the council person's open-ended question.
No, there could be a different, the way it's written, it allows for a different question or questions that pertain to specific goals for the year, which I don't know that we ever established any direct goals for
we
this
did
year,
not.
so.
No, we haven't. And there again, I think we need to have a little bit of input on that, but again, there are a couple of questions I definitely would like to see added to that because I think it's really relevant right now.
So as our plan of action you're going to revise it, and then we will I'll approve the evaluation at the special, and.
That is entirely up to council.
Yeah, I think.
Okay,
And then at the April meeting will be the actual.
okay,
Evaluation.
that can work.
Craig wants to go into closed session and do that.
Yeah, I'd certainly like to see what I'm being
Yeah,
graded on
no.
this year, since we didn't
Yeah,
establish
no,
it.
and that's the thing, though, I wasn't
Not
under-
given an opportunity
well,
to actually submit my
and-
performance.
right.
I was gonna
That's
say,
And I
it
wasn't
also-
under any impression.
It also includes a self-evaluation for him, which is essentially the same form that we use, same questions, it's all the same criteria, and then
And-
his self-evaluation score then
Yeah.
factors into the overall score.
And I did ask a few other council members to help on that, and everybody kind of said no, and I'm I want to get it right, I do, and I don't want to be holding up that for Craig either, because I think we all agree that he's doing a good job, so. There are just a few things that I think are important. So if you would meet with me, that'd be great. That would be great.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Support. So I can go to bed.